Now, with all our pages finished and with all that data being fetched and used, and with us being able to add a new meetup here, with that we added all the functionality that I wanted to add to this demo project. And with that, we also used all those core Next.js features: file-based routing, API routes, and of course also page pre-rendering with data fetching, for example with getStaticProps. Now that this app is finished, what's missing? Well, we want to deploy it. We don't just want to have it here locally on our local machine with that development server, but instead we want to deploy it, put it onto a remote machine so that users from all over the world can visit our application. Now, therefore, we are going to deploy it. But before we do that, there is one thing we should also do. One thing you should double check for any kind of Next.js project you're building, or for any kind of web project in general. And that's metadata, which you might want to add to your pages. The content is there on our pages. We do have the content visible on the screen. And that's the most important part, of course. But at this point, we haven't added any metadata. If we inspect the rendered HTML code, the head section is relatively empty. We do have some meta tags here, but we are missing the description meta tag, which would be important for search engines. I'm talking about the description meta tag, which allows you to set descriptions which, for example, show up on Google search here. And we're also missing a page title, which is why here in the tab title, we only see the address as a title. And if our pages would show up as search results later, we also want a title, like in this case here, Academine for my own website. So setting such meta tags, adding such head elements, that is something we definitely also want to do when we build a site, and that is something which we want to do here as well. And adding such head elements to our pages is thankfully very simple with Next.js. Let's start on the index.js page, so the home page. There we definitely want to set some title, and we definitely also want to add a description. And to do that, we can import a special component offered by Next.js, the head component imported from next/head. This is a component which allows you to add head elements to the head section of your page. How do you use it? You simply add it to your returned JSX code. So here next to the meetup list, I want to add the head element, the head component, and since adjacent JSX code is not allowed, I will use the React fragment imported from React. Here is the import, imported from React. I'll use fragment to wrap head and meetup list. And now inside of these head tags here, between the opening and closing head component tag, there you can now insert your head elements. So all the HTML elements which you can add in the head section, you can add them here. Like for example, the title. And then we could give this page a title of React Meetups or whatever title we want to have here. And actually make sure that this is returned like this. If we then save this and we visit our starting page, you will notice that now here in the tab title, we see that title which I set here. And of course, we also see this in the page source code. There we'll be able to find the title in the head section. Here it is. And we also see that if we open the DevTools and inspect the rendered elements here, here's our title as well. So that's how we can add a title. And that's how we can also add this meta tag, which holds the description, which will be picked up by search engines like Google. Browse a huge list of highly active React meetups. That could be our meta description for this page. And that would be the text which shows up when our page shows up as a result on a search engine, for example. So with that added, we now added some metadata, some head data to this starting page. And we can do this on all the pages. On the new meetup page, for example, I don't just want to return the new meetup form, but also add the fragment here, imported from React, of course. And then between the fragment opening and closing tags, have our adjacent JSX code to have the head section there and the new meetup form. Head is of course a component which we also need to import now. So import head from next head like this. And now here we can set a title as well, like add a new meetup. And we can also update the description and change this to add your own meetups, create amazing networking opportunities, like this. So now this is added here as well. And hence, if we visit the Add New Meetup page, we see our title here. And of course, in the DevTools, we also see this description meta tag here in the head section. Now, last but not least, we also want to set a title and show a description if we view a single meetup. And therefore, we should also go to this single meetup ID page and also wrap this into a fragment here and add this head component and bring the meetup detail into this fragment as well. And then, of course, make sure that you import fragment from React and import head from next/head, like this. And then here, between the opening and closing head tags, we can also add a title. And of course here, the title will not be a static, hard-coded title, as it is on the other pages, where it's always the same title. But instead here, for a single loaded meetup item on that meetup details page, here I actually want to use the title of that meetup as a title for this page, so that different meetups have different titles on their pages. And hence, different meetups showing up on a search engine would show up with different titles and descriptions there as well. And making this title dynamic instead of static is super simple. After all, we are in our regular returned JSX code snippet block. So we can use all the standard React features here and, for example, output the result of a dynamic expression with curly braces. And then output props.meetupdata.title as a title here. And then add this meta tag here for the description, and a content of some content. And then here, make the content dynamic and output props.meetupdata.description, for example, or whatever you want to output as a description. And therefore, we can set a hard-coded description as we do it on the Add a New Meetup page, for example, but we can also set a dynamic value as we're doing it here. And with that, if we save this and reload this page, this single meetup page, we see that title here in the tab. And if we inspect this here, in the head section, we also see the title and we see this description with the actual meetup description text. And now with that, we really prepared our page for deployment, our website for deployment, because with that, we make sure that search engines get all that extra metadata, and we also show our users some nice titles here as well. And with that, let's now deploy this site.